Hey movie fans, how's it going? Excited to talk about Incredibles 2 with everybody. Get more of a full review out there to everyone. So this video will contain some spoilers. I'll just say that up front so you know right off the bat, right out of the get-go. But yeah, let's first talk about the box office. Holy cow, record breaking for an animated movie, $182 million. What? Previous record, $135 million from Finding Dory. So yeah, almost 50 million better. Like, whoa, that's a big deal. So pretty impressive, pretty awesome. It's even got an A+ cinema score. So yeah, it's tracking really well. It should continue to do really well, especially here with, summer box office time. Box Office Mojo is actually predicting it to break 500 million, which would then put it the #1 domestic animated movie of all time. So that's Incredibles 2. That's pretty incredible, right? It really is a very well done sequel with a perfect flow from the original that just builds on and develops what the original started and all that it did to get us to understand this family of supers. But it's successful really in this outing because of its balance of great action and comedy that's really appealing to a wide range of ages. I mentioned how much I loved being in the theater with a lot of little kids, enjoying their excitement, enjoying their laughter, really just added to the overall experience. That was pretty cool. So that was on my second watch. But let me just kind of back you up a little bit here. I had so much anticipation for this movie. I love the original Incredibles. I love Pixar in general, right? You've maybe seen, if you've seen any other videos, you've seen kind of the collection of Incredibles stuff that we have. Elastigirl, right? Just awesome, love it, and I was very, very excited for this movie, and yeah, my expectations were really, really high. But to be honest, the best way to really describe what I was thinking going into my first watch was really just this.
Well, what are you waiting for?
I don't know. Something amazing, I guess.
Me too, kid.
Right? So, yeah, I had those huge expectations for something amazing to happen, and it was good, and I really liked it. But holy cow, it wasn't till the second time where my reaction after watching it the second time was more like this.
That was totally wicked!
Yes. So, yeah, just so much fun and so great. So great. Now, was it a perfect movie? Some people might say yes. I'm going to have to say no. There were some things that, I maybe didn't quite like all the way about it, which is part of why my first watch maybe left me a little bit to where I wasn't totally geeking out about it. But yeah, so let me go into a couple of those things. What I didn't like. Going through the first and even the second time, it seemed that there was a lack of that iconic dialogue that we had in the original Incredibles. Like really, if you go back through that first movie, there are so many scenes of quotable, memorable, super well written lines of dialogue, right? Obviously the super suit one is one that comes to a lot of people's minds right off the bat. Or E and Mr. Incredible talking about no capes, right? Just iconic and just amazing. My personal favorite is when they're in the fire saving all the people and Frozone can't lay down a layer thick enough. So Mr. Incredible's like,
You're out of ice? You can't run out of ice. I thought you could use the water in the air.
There is no water in this air. What's your excuse? You run out of muscle?
like, oh my gosh, it's so good. It's so good. And I didn't feel completely 100% that we had a lot of those, or maybe even equal to those, in this new installment. Now, that being said, I've got some disclaimers, okay? First of all, love the dialogue at the dinner scene, right? Where Violet's asking Dash if, he washed his hands, and that one's really, really good. There's also a really good one between Mr. Incredible and his wife, Helen, right after she's got the new job, she's gonna go off and do the thing, and you just see their competitiveness in their relationship, and funny, good. Those ones were really, really good. So those stand out to me. So it's not like it's completely lacking, but just like I said, seemingly a lack of what we had in the original. Now, part of that too might just be because we had 13 and a half years, right? It's been like 14 years since we first saw The Incredibles almost. So we've had all that time to learn and love and become so familiar and accustomed to the incredible lines of dialogue. So maybe with more time, we'll catch more of that in it. But also I think it's just part of storyline. The first one, you needed a lot of that deep, well-written dialogue so that you could come to know these characters, to develop them. In this one, they're developed. So a lot of where that was happening in the first one, this one you're able to just continue the storyline ahead and have those great moments of action and humor. So anyways, so that's point number one. Point number two, on things that I didn't quite like. You know, the MPAA rating talks about, well, action does. So we know it's going to be PG because of that, but also because of brief, mild language. It's brief, it's mild. You know, it's not necessarily the end of the world or anything, but it just felt a little like, why? You know, did we need that? I've talked to some other people who are kind of like, what? Like, what's that even doing in a Disney Pixar? Like I said, it's not like super bad, but at the same time, just kind of like, why? Almost like they were trying to push the borders of PG, or, you know, like make it edgy or something. I don't know. But anyways, I didn't feel it was super necessary. So that was just one of just kind of like, why, right? What else did I not like? I actually didn't really like the side supers, the super wannabe characters. I didn't love the way they're animated. They really kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. Kind of reminded me a little bit, I almost feel guilty saying this as a Pixar fan, of How to Train Your Dragon, where I love the way the Night Fury, Toothless, is animated. So flawless and beautiful. But then those other dragons just look so awkward and out of place, right? Or even in like The Good Dinosaur. I love the way Arlo's animated. I think he's such a great character. But, you know, like those pterodactyls and things, it just didn't seem to mesh and fit and feel right with what we've seen. And these side supers, you know, like all the supers we saw, you know, 15 years ago with Gazer Beam and Dynaguy and Thunderhead, like, you know, there's kind of a look there, and here these ones are, and they just, I don't know, they really just looked like bad guys. Having seen the movie, maybe you okay, we get why, because Screenslaver ends up turning them that way. So maybe that's why it was done intentionally that way. But I also think story-wise it might have been done intentionally. Here's my thoughts on that. Helen has been fine with trying to adjust to civilian life, right? But here we see some of these supers who really probably don't have much of a shot of adjusting to a civilian life or living a normal life because of the powers that they've inherited, that they have, right? So maybe that's part of the draw in this, is that, you know, as Mr. Incredible says to Frozone,
I've got to succeed so she can succeed, so we can succeed.
I get it, Bob. I get it.
You know, her success is trying to open the way, pave the way for supers to become legal again. And so with these supers, these super wannabes as they call them, it becomes pretty important, right? Pretty necessary that they can, you know, have a chance. So that could be part of why that is. So yeah, I didn't really like it. It actually didn't bother me as much the second time. So I don't know if that was just because I was used to them or those thoughts that I went through there. But let me tell you another thing that I didn't quite like about it, and that was it was too predictable. From the trailers, I was kind of thinking that Mr. Dever, who wants to put supers in the spotlight, might end up being the bad guy, right? So I'd kind of gone into it with that mentality, but as soon as his sister walked in and we saw her for the first time, it was just like automatic, like, oh, that's her. She's the bad guy. She's the Screenslaver. And, you know, I honestly kind of thought it was pretty cool that I had called it right. Well, we took our kids to see it right the next day, and my 8-year-old son, he was, because it was so crowded, he was actually in a row in front of us. I saw him lean over to his sister as soon as she walked in and say, "That's the bad guy," and he totally called it. So, anyways, maybe just a little bit too predictable. I don't know if they were trying to not have it be predictable though. Maybe that was part of what they were doing. Learned something really interesting from a video. A fellow YouTube channel, Looper, talked about Easter eggs in The Incredibles. And one of them they talked about was her name, Mr. Dever's sister's name. Her name is Evelyn Dever, right? Which, when you combine those two, it kind of, if you pronounce it a little bit different, comes out to be an evil endeavor. Evil endeavor, evil endeavor. An evil endeavor. Where she's got something mischievous, wrong, and evil that she's trying to accomplish. So maybe they weren't trying to so hide it from us. And if that's the case, then all right, that's okay. I can be okay with that.
Coincidence? I think not.
The credibility for that, I know it sounds a little bit funky, it's a little slighted, but in the first movie, the volcanic island on which Syndrome has created his lair is called Nomanisin. And you hear that when Mr. Incredible's coming into it. But if you see it spelled out, Nomanisin Island, you break it up into no man is an island. No man is an island. Which, before I just thought was kind of a cool play on words of that famous phrase, but as I think about it and how in this one with Evelyn Dever it's kind of hinting towards the villain's story, I think that was what was happening in the first one. Because what was it that Syndrome was so upset about? He had been rejected by Mr. Incredible because Mr. Incredible said, "I work alone," right? But no man is an island. So he then brings him in and shows him that, and tries to take his family away from him. It's rough, and that's awesome though. So that's a pretty cool little thing in there. So even though it was maybe too predictable, maybe that's okay. Another thing that maybe I didn't quite like about it was it was just too easy. I mean, here she was, she had this huge plan with all these supers. They were all, screen slaved with the glasses that she slapped on them, their new masks. But awesomeness of baby Jack Jack, which of course she couldn't have factored in, just levitates it off of his mom, and then boom, 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 boom. And so I don't know, that just seemed to resolve a little bit too quickly for me, to where it just seemed a little bit too easy. So that being said, what did I love about this movie? What did I like? Well, I actually really like that it didn't try to rehash all that was great about the first movie, right? So I know I was kind of like saying, well, it didn't have all the dialogue from the first movie, but you know what? It's great that they didn't just force or feel, trapped or enslaved, that they had to do all those things that worked great in the first movie. They didn't have to have Dash rediscover that he could run on water, because that was such a great moment in the first movie. They didn't have to bring the little boy on the bicycle back into the story somehow. So I loved that they didn't have to do that. They were able to just continue what had already been built. That's pretty cool. What else did I love? Well, I loved the action. I remember watching some behind-the-scenes stuff of Ratatouille, which was also directed by Brad Bird, and some of the other filmmakers were commenting on when Brad Bird came into the project, how things just for that movie just really changed. And the thing that they mentioned that changed so much was just the action. He just brought so much action. So when I went and watched it the second time, I went and counted how many action scenes are in The Incredibles 2. I counted 8. You could call it 9 if you really want to, but 2 of them were really short, like really brief little action sequences. So I just combined those into one. We're going to call it 8 for my count. But that's a lot of action. That's a lot of action. So that's pretty cool. What else did I love about this movie? I thought it had great messages behind it. First of all, it's Father's Day weekend it came out on. There's a great message about being a dad or whatever role we play, in families or in society. Mr. Incredible is freaking out because it's really hard. He's struggling with his wife gone, with the kid's mother gone doing this mission. And he kind of has, one of those blow up moments where he's like, I can't be Mr. Okay or Mr. Mediocre. I've got to be Mr. Incredible. To where it was almost, a selfishly or pridefully motivated. Once he's able to step away from all of that and get some help where Baby Jack Jack goes to Edna mode, which is just awesome. It's so good. Oh, great. And he's back home and he's with Violet, and you just feel some sincerity now as he says to her, I just want to be a good dad. And I love that it wasn't, I don't have to be incredible, not my ego, not my selfishness, but I just want to be good for you and to make things right for you. And it was just so sincere and so sweet. And I think there's a lot we can all take from that. And just trying to be good, trying to do good and play our role well, without the selfish motivation. Okay? So that then spills over to the other message, the other theme that I want to talk about. The opening sequence of the movie and the closing sequence of the movie parallel each other in a sense. Well, the big action sequence at the beginning, the big action sequence at the end. Okay? The first one with the Underminer, his big drill rig is like on the loose, going crazy. They don't know how to stop it. And everybody wants to help, but that's the problem, is they all want it to be them. It's almost like it is, selfish. Like, no, you hold Jack Jack so I can do this. No, you hold Jack Jack so I can do this. And, they end up stopping it, but holy cow, so much destruction happened along the way. On the last one, it's the boat that Screenslaver had set on course to crash into the city that they have to stop. But this time you don't see them wanting to do it for them. There really is a better cohesion. There's a lack of selfishness and more unity in the group. And Violet's like, yeah, no, I'll take Jack Jack. And Mr. Incredible's like, to hell and to his wife, you go get her. You know what I mean? Like, and they just work together so much better. And yeah, it's a close call, but without all the destruction. So working together without selfishness leads to a happier ending, right? Leads to more success in life and without all the chaos and what ensues from the destruction. So that's pretty cool. Okay, can I share one more with you? I know it's been a lot. One more message that I really love in this movie. When it starts off, we start off pretty much right where we left off, right? Where there's the family, there's the Underminer, which was my favorite John Ratzenberger cameo, just gonna say. Waited for that whole movie, and then the last part, behold the Underminer. So good. But there that is, and when that first movie ended, to us, that was their happy ever after. That was, here they are as a family, and it's been 3 months since they stopped Syndrome, and they're continuing with life. Dash is doing sports. Violet's connected with Tony Reidinger, and they get to be supers together, and that was their happy ending. Well, and then it starts, and then that happens with Underminer, which didn't go well. Underminer got away, and they got arrested, and it just all went bad, and they get thrown in a hotel because they're being relocated, and it's just like, what? I thought they were supposed to have their happy ever after. So I love the lesson that this teaches. We work so hard, we strive to get these happily ever afters, and the truth of it is that even when we have our happy ever after, we still continue on. There's still going to be hardship, there's still going to be struggle, but together we can continue on and have happily ever after while we continue working for more happily ever afters. So I think that's a pretty cool little message in there. So keep those heads up, keep fighting, keep going, and know that we can be successful. We can come out on top. So with The Incredibles 2 being so great, so wonderful, and making so much money in the box office, it leaves us to ask, will there be an Incredibles 3? Pixar had mentioned a couple years ago after Toy Story and Incredibles sequels that they didn't have any plans for any other ones. Now, it doesn't mean there won't be, and Brad Bird himself has even recently stated that there was a lot of ideas that they had developing for this movie that they weren't able to use. So, there's a lot of content maybe that they can work off of and go with. So, an Incredibles 3 could be pretty likely. Here's my biggest point as to why there should be. 2, yeah, it did kind of feel like a middle movie of a trilogy with its action, with its quick pace to move the story along, but also because at the very, very end of the credits, you'll see the little Underminer rig going past, almost reminding us that, hey, he's still out there, right? well, not only is he out there, and he wasn't just a nice little cameo for John Ratzenberger, Pixar's good luck charm, but he proved to be a formidable foe in this movie. I mean, I don't think I ever thought he would have stood a chance against Mr. Incredible. But when they came face to face, even hand to hand, he could hold his own. And yeah, he escaped. So I think there's something there. I think it would be pretty cool to see that get tied up and finish that off. So pretty awesome. Love The Incredibles. Saw it twice. Hope you guys are loving it as well. If you have any thoughts, questions, comments, just let me know. Thanks everybody. Thanks for watching.